Right, good evening, and we're looking at the new ACCA syllabus and what are the changes and how to select your optional papers. Also, what are the changes in the optional papers, all right? Okay, so let me start by telling you what it is to become an ACCA member and how to get there, all right? The first one, you need to do your applied knowledge, 3 papers, which you should have done by now. Then you move to applied skill, 6 papers. And if you've done your applied skill, it's a good idea to also get your Oxford Brookes University degree, OBU. Make sure you get that one on the top up if you haven't got it. If you already have a degree, then you're coming to the next stage, which is called the strategic professional papers. You have 4 papers. Now, then you move on, you have 3-year practical experience, PER, which you can collect any time. It doesn't need to be collected after the qualification. The point is, as long as you have your PER records updated and signed by an accountant, MIA, CIMA, any IFAC body member, okay, can sign for you that your experience is valid, you have collected the 3 years. So you don't need to wait until you finish the your papers to do that one, all right? So if you are doing, make sure you get that. Then once you got your 3-year experience, you apply for your ACCA membership. Then you have to do CPD. And then you can automatically, when you get your ACCA membership, you automatically apply for your MIA membership, okay? And that's how you become a chartered accountant in Malaysia, all right? Now, as long as you maintain your CPD for ACCA, then your MIA CPD is also matched. Okay, they are matching units. All right. Okay. Any questions on the pathway? Are you all clear on the pathway? Okay. Right. The applied knowledge, there is no changes. They have not changed anything. The only thing they have changed is made everything go computerized. So there is no more paper-based exam. Okay. So there are 3 papers there. I'm not going to go through this one because there is no change. Okay. The applied skill, also no major change. The only thing they've done is also move to computer-based. For now in Malaysia, we still have the paper-based and the computer-based will be offered simultaneous. So you have 6 papers to clear. Now, if you did not do this level, how many of you did a degree? Degree 1, 2, 3, degree, okay, you did this level, okay. So if you have done this level and you have done a degree, you need to reflect back on what was your strong papers. You see there are a few papers here, correct? Now based on these papers, you can see that there is corporate law, audit and assurance. These 2 papers are theoretical applied papers, all right? Then you have the tax and financial reporting paper. These 2 papers are format paper. That means they solve problem using a format. As long as you know your formats and you know how to plug your format into the situation, you can solve problems. So you might have liked that paper. Those are very structured paper, whereas the theory paper is very memory oriented paper. You need to remember all the rules and procedures and all that. Now the last 2 papers, performance management and financial management, are the same. Their way of solving, although got format, the format vary according to situation. It's not really a standard format. So it's a flexible format paper. Are you clear now? So you need to know that the 2 papers there, FM and performance management, are flexible format paper. There is no standard solution. You see the problem and then you come up with a format. Whereas the tax and financial reporting, you see the problem, you use a standard format to solve the problem, yes or no? And the corporate law and the financial management is kind of memory, the audit paper is kind of memory-based paper. You need to know the rules for that area. Okay. Are we clear on that one? So this is quite important. You need to reflect back and think what was your favorite paper, because if you're going to select your optional paper, you better have some kind of good groundwork on the lower level paper. If your groundwork is weak, then you go to the higher level, you have a problem. All right? So that's one of the things you must remember. Okay? Think back and see. But not necessarily they are exactly the same. I will repeat now. For example, the tax paper here is only tax computation. You go up, it's called tax planning, which is slightly different. Got similar but not exactly same. Same, the audit paper is kind of low level audit. So when you go up, it's advanced audit, which has different issues. They're not exactly the same. Clear on this part? So you can say it's a method to choose your paper, but it's not an absolute idea. You need to also consider what is the paper itself. Okay? Now, this is the new strategic professional level. Alright? The new strategic professional, and this is the level. How many of you haven't done any papers here? Have you done all the papers, all cleared ready? You haven't done the SBR. Both of you cleared everything ready. Cleared. Done? Not yet clear. Going to start first time. Okay? And yours left with one paper, the SBL paper, correct? So, you have some essential papers. You also have something called an online SBL module. Okay, an online SBL module is £60. They expect you to do it when you do SBL. They expect you to do it at the same time. Okay, anyway, you have to do it because you need to pay to graduate anyway. For you to get your membership from ACCA, you must finish the online SBL module, the online ethical and professional module. Alright, so they call it the online ethical professional. I think you can already see it in your ACCA membership. The module should be appearing there, correct? So it is a online tuition that is purely designed by ACCA. That one will have case study. Will have case studies, will have videos. They have spent quite a bit of money to develop the package. Okay, that's why they are charging it at £60. It's one off. Are we okay in that one? So have you done the online ethical module? Finish. If you have finished it, then you do not need to worry about doing this one. Okay, you do not need to. If you haven't done the online ethical module, the old online ethical module, then you must do this one. Okay, so this is the things you must be aware of. Got it? But like I said, if you haven't done it, it's good to do it when you do the SBL paper. It's a good preparation paper. All right. Now, when it comes to optional, you have two choices to complete your strategic professional. Number one, you can choose two of the optional paper, or you can do the MSc Professional Accountancy from University of London. It's a reputable university, it's a strong university, but the fee is very different. The online tuition fee for one module is £1,300, but it includes the exam fee and the tuition fee. But it's £1,300 per paper, so altogether is £3,900. Two module is exactly same as the AFM and APM, the Advanced Financial Management and Advanced Performance. So they are exactly copycat paper. But the difference is the MSc got assignment. 20% mark come from assignment, 80% come from exam. The exam is done by University of London, not done by ACCA. Okay, the last module is thesis. You have to prepare a project, a thesis paper, submit, then you will get qualified. You get double qualification. You will get the MSc from University of London, plus you get your ACCA. Clear? That's the working for the option. But like I said, it's a very expensive route. Okay, and the tuition is not so strong. The online module also is kind of, they just dump you with 1,500 pages of notes, and you look at the pages and no one is going to teach you anything. They literally dump the whole textbook on you and say, read yourself. Okay, and the way they want you to write answer is not like how ACCA write answer. They want you to write academic answer. Okay, so that's the difference. Whereas the optional is basically you just pay your tuition and then take the exam fee, which is about £150. So you have to take two papers, is only about £300 exam fee. Got it? Okay. So are we clear on your choices here? Yes, no? Any question before I move out of this box? Yes.
How long is the duration?
Online, the MSc Professional Accountancy. It's actually up to you. Normally they expect you to do one module per semester, 3 months. So they give you about 1 year to finish it. Okay, your choice. Normally some people do 2 modules and then the thesis on the next module. Okay, it is reputable. I would say it's reputable, but it's also very challenging. But you can still get the MSc Professional Accountancy after ACCA. If you do after you finish all of this, the ACCA, you can still get the MSc, but you have to pay 2 modules afterwards. And don't forget, you also got the Oxford Brookes University Masters, OBU Masters, which you can do at any time. All they need is 3 papers pass. Alright? Okay. So this is basically the approach. Now, I'm going to talk about what's the changes that's happened, because some of you might have studied the old P2 paper, ACCA P2 paper, and some of you are going into the SBR. Some of you might be waiting for results for P2, yes or not? You're like, am I going to pass or not? So if you need to know what's the difference, okay, I'm going to talk about the ACCA SBR paper. This is a new paper. It's a strategic business reporting paper. Okay. Now the word is strategic business reporting, and not the, I repeat, it is not the, not what we call the advanced corporate reporting. Advanced corporate reporting was about corporate reporting. You are reporting your performance. Does that make sense? But this paper is more about you looking at business performance. Are we okay in the difference now? So you're reporting on your business level performance. There is no more full consolidation. Okay, there is no more full consolidation. Ethics has gone from 6 marks to 20 marks. So the written element, ethical part, has gone up to 20 marks. No choices. All questions must be done. Does that make sense? Everything must be done. Okay. There's no more vertical groups. There was a complex group structure. They have taken out complex groups from the whole teaching syllabus. Okay. Question 1 is 30 marks. Question 2 is 20 marks. Question 3 and question 4 is 25. They have embedded the current issue. In the past paper, current issue was a choice question. Now they put it part into the paper. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the 2 papers. All right. If we compare the 2 papers, you get an idea of the change. Now, the reason why you have to understand the comparison, even though you're not doing ACCA P2, okay, you are doing ACCA SBR if you're sitting for the current sitting. The reason why you need to know the difference is because all the past year come from P2. And I've already reviewed the textbooks, the Kaplan and the BPP, and they have done some changes. That means they have created maybe 10 to 12 new questions. That's it. Everything else is still the old question. Okay? Which means there is something called differences that you must appreciate before you enter in. Because if you use the past year questions now, it's not exactly the SBR paper, it was the P2 paper's past year questions. So just doing P2 alone may not be enough. You need to know how to adjust a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the paper, okay? And the paper we're going to look at first is going to be, let me look at the P2 paper. I'm going to show you the P2 paper, which is this one, okay? This was what came out the March and June 2018 session, okay? And this is how the P2 paper is set up. Question 1, you can see it's a full-blown question with all the numbers. And this is the word they use, prepare the consolidated statement of financial position, which means you just have to prepare, calculate only. So question 1, 35 mark, was a pure calculation question. Are we okay? Then you can see part B was a bit of discussion for 6 marks, a bit of discussion and ethics for 9 marks. Are you clear now? This was the 50-mark question for the old paper, P2. Okay. Then if you go to question number 2, you have this like A, B, C, and each of it is actually a situation faced by the company. Are we clear now? A situation faced by a company where you are supposed to advise how to deal with the situation. Advise the management how to deal with the situation. Same with this one. Question 3 was also the same. They'll have some issue, some financial statement issue, maybe IFRS 9. Then they might have put something here. I think this is the one that came out for you, yes or no? Those who sat for the June 2018 exam would have seen these 2 questions. I think so, yes or not? These were the 2 questions that came out for June 2018. Okay, so here they'll again ask you to advise on the issue, correct? And the last one, you got this question 4, as you can see, discuss existence. You can see it's more theoretical. There's no case study at the top. Clear? And then there's a little bit of case study, and that's 25. And this was supposed to be the current issue. Does that make sense? Okay. This is how the old paper looked like. Now, I'm going to go to the new paper. Okay. The new paper that we have here. Okay, let me just get that paper. Yeah. This is the strategic business reporting paper, which is the new paper. They have 2 specimen paper they have created. It means they have made up 2 papers for us to look and see how the feel of the paper is. That's all we have. We only have 2 papers feeling. Everything else we have to cook ourselves. We have to take the old paper and kind of tincang rojak a bit and remake it into the new paper. So that's where there's a bit of problem in the current sitting. Are you clear now? There's not enough sample data, so a lot of it is going to be speculative. Are we okay in this part? So that's one of the issues that you need to be aware of. But don't worry, because the sitting is also kind of a grey sitting, because not enough data for us to see and practice, the marking might be a bit relaxed, a bit like I say 1% down, not 50% down. Don't hope for 50% down. Okay, so they might not be so harsh on the students this time. All right. So this one, same thing. A, B, both questions compulsory. Same time is the same. 3 hour 15-minute exam. And you can see the question. They've given you certain issues, and you can see here. Look at the requirement. In respect of investment in Chandler, explain with suitable calculation how goodwill should have been calculated. The word should comes out. In other words, right now, the way they've done it is accounts already done, console already done, they made some mistake, can you correct it? So it's more like an error correction at group level. So question 1 is error correction at group level with explain why the error happened. If you know how to do the correction, it's quite easy, and you know the principle. But the difference is now you have to explain. Last time just calculate. Now you have to calculate and then explain. Then calculate and then explain. Correct? Okay. That's the difference. So discuss with suitable calculation. You can see that part. How investment should have been dealt with. And discuss with suitable calculation how convertible bonds should be dealt with. So it's no longer full consolidation. They're just giving you 3 issues. Problems in the accounts, and they want you to just say how should you have corrected it. Okay, are we okay in this part? Same, discuss the proposed treatment issues raised by loan covenant breach. So basically that's another issue. Now down here, can you see this one? This is about 15 marks, but it's supposed to be the marks are not stable. That's one of the problems. We don't know exactly. We say approximately 30-20, correct? We said 30-20, correct? If you look at this one, this is 35-15. So what happened is they said that the marks for the question 1 and 2 is not a stable mark. It's not this is 20, this is 35. It could be 25, 25, 30, 25, 20. They will adjust the marks. Okay? So question 1 and 2, total must be 50 marks. So, but the ethics part is now a bit more larger. Discuss ethical and accounting implications of the above situation. So, they might give you 2 situations. They will ask you to do the accounting treatment plus the ethical one. Are we okay in this part? Okay. Then you can go to question number 3. And this one, you can see they've given you 2 situations. Advise the accountant on matters. Discuss the acceptability of the proposal. Now, new accountants have been reviewing this, recommend the following. So, they might ask you concepts that are not necessary accounting standards. They might ask you general conceptual frameworks. Okay, and down here same thing, advise the accountant matters set above, discuss potential impact on this is another important part of this paper. This paper has added ratio analysis. In the past, P2 does not have ratio analysis. So one of the new things for the SBR paper is something called advanced performance management issues or additional performance data, okay, whereby you need to calculate ratios, explain the impact on the ratio. Does that make sense? Clear on this idea? Okay. So you do need to know ratio in depth when you do this paper, because they expect you to say, if you change an accounting policy, what is the impact on the ratio? Will the ratio get better and worse? And which stakeholder affected? So this paper got 2 extra views, stakeholder view, ratio view. This has been added in. Okay. Are we okay on that big change? Any questions before I close this one? That was the change in the 2 papers. Are we okay in the difference? Can. So, ACCA SBR, ACCA P2. Main difference, I think you are aware already, yes or no? Okay. The next paper we need to talk about is ACCA SBL. Now, this is the new paper which they have been talking about. The strategic business leadership, okay? Usually it was called ACCA P1 and P3. And they had something free which is called online ethical module. Okay. These 2 now join together and they've called this ACCA SBL. Are we okay? And they have created a new online ethical professional module which is now plus together. You're supposed to do it together. So total fee £250. Last time £125, £125, 0. They are accountant, they won't lose money one. Are you clear or not? They calculated like 125 plus 125 plus 0 is 250, correct? Now we'll make this £190 and we'll put this at £160. 190 plus 60. It's 250 also. Around there. Are we clear now? No change. Fair enough? So the fees is there, the approach is there. Now when we say ACCA P1 plus P3, the syllabus is roughly about there. It combined the previous 2 papers. Okay? If you look at the difference, okay, I'm going to run through the difference. Which do you think is easier? The previous exam was 6.5 hours over 2 days. The current exam is 4 hours in 1 day. Easier or harder? It sounds easier, right? 3 hour 15 minutes, 3 hour 15 minutes for 2 days is like suffering for 2 days. You better suffer 1 day rather than 2 days, correct? So that way I think it's easier to suffer 1 day. Okay, next. In the previous exam, if you had to do 2 papers, you had to see 8 cases, 8 different companies. Are we clear? The current paper is 1 company. So it's kind of a more focused question. Okay. Next. Of course, 2 papers is 200 marks. Now it's 100 marks. I think that's also easier, right? Okay. Passing over 200 marks, 100 marks is still easier. Now, look at the top there, professional marks. Confirm. In the past, 2 papers had only 8 marks. That was about, 208 over 200 was 4% of the marks. I clear now. Now it's 20% of the marks. So there's a bit of room for you to show professional skills and get marks, even though you don't know anything. Are you okay now? So there's still some room for you to get marks. They're given a bit more room for you to pass. Okay. Now it's more financial and practical work. That means if you look at the case study, you'll find out it's work. So it's excellent for people who are working. If you're not working, you're a full-time student, it's a bit harder. Okay? Because I think ACCA, when they designed it, they wanted it to be work relevant. Okay, they wanted people to feel like it's an office job and you have been asked to do this in the office. So their picture of the exam is, you go into the office, your boss give you this 5 tasks to do, he give you the file, you just work it out. That's the way they have designed the paper. Are you clear now? Okay. So you need a qualified accountant to teach it best. You must get someone who knows what an accountant does. Because an accountant is not an accounts clerk, not an accounts assistant, not an accounts exec. An accountant is someone who does not do the nitty-gritty numbers. An accountant is someone who brings the overview and explains it to the people. Are you clear? So in this sense, you need to process data and bring it in together nicely. A lot of the numbers are already calculated. There will be some calculations you need to perform, but a lot of the number is calculated. You just have to interpret. Are we okay in this part? So this is one of the problems, because a lot of the colleges have decided to put 3 people to teach the paper. They put one person teaching the ethics part, one person teaching the business strategy part, one person teaching the financial part. And the problem with that is they're looking at it from box. But it's not a box job, it's a single job. So in that sense, you need someone who knows accounting work. Make sense? Right. So that's the big difference. In my opinion, if you need to study this, you need to make sure you know your numbers, plus you need to think like an accountant. Alright? Okay. Now, I'm going to run through the difference between the 2 papers. The first paper we're going to look at is going to be the SBL paper, the new paper. Alright? I'm going to look at the new paper. Let me see whether I can catch the new paper. This is the Strategic Business Leadership paper. Now, you know the exam is 4 hours, correct? Okay. It's 4 hours. All questions is an integrated case study. One section containing total 100 marks. All tasks must be completed. Okay. All tasks contain professional marks that are shown. Okay, right. Of course, do not open the question until they told you, but you'll always open the question, right? Correct. In the exam, didn't you open before they tell you? You just got there and then started looking through at all the paper questions. Correct. Okay. Now, let's have a look at the question itself. Now, if you look at the exam paper, it's going to be like this. They'll give you an overview of the company. Okay. Overview of the company. And they will give you like probably an organization chart, and they will give you this exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you see now? In other words, all the attachments. Like when you get an email, you get all this attachment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, correct? So it's like exhibit 1, website page for the company, corporate governance site, transport report published by newspaper. So it's a newspaper article. Okay? Passenger survey results, performance analysis spreadsheet. So they will give you a spreadsheet. They expect you to know what's a spreadsheet, how a spreadsheet is worked on, what you can do on a spreadsheet, and how the numbers are derived. Are you clear? Okay. So they assume your spreadsheet skills are good. Because you're an accountant, if you don't know spreadsheet at this level, you're dead already. Okay. Board minutes, you need to know what do boards discuss, and you probably have to critically highlight all the keywords out. Got it? Outline person specification, CV for 2 candidates for new chief executive position. So they have 2 people have applied for the CEO job, and you're supposed to evaluate it. They've given you the 2 CVs. You might have to argue which is the better candidate. Okay, so all given to you. You just have to pick and argue. So not a lot of theory involved. Okay, and then ticket sales, passenger usage data, and fraud analysis. Okay, at stations in town region 1, prepared by financial controller. Now, if you know it's prepared by financial controller, you can kind of place trust on the numbers, yes or no? If it's prepared by an assistant accountant or accounts assistant, then you go like, no, I think the numbers may not be reliable. Clear? Okay. Now, if you look at the question is actually quite small. Yes, no? And if you also notice, another important part about the question is this one. Can you see this line here? Almost every question will carry about 2 marks. So 20 marks will have at least 4 marks, your professional marks. And they will tell you the skill they want you to practice. Okay? It's something like your PER. Have you seen your PER? Yes, no? Hello? Have you seen the professional experience records? What you're supposed to be experienced, skill set. What they are trying to do is tie back with your experience. So, when you do your work, you're supposed to do some core skill set, core work. So, the professional skills are what they think an accountant should be able to do. It's not the technique. It's this skill is the one they say is more important than the top item. So, you can see that 8 marks is not the major issue. They are focusing on this 2 marks. That is their core skill. So you need to be trained on the skill already. This is a new training. All those people who do SBL will be trained on this new thinking. In fact, this can be sold to all the board of directors in most public listed companies. They will buy it already. They all need the same skill. Clear? Okay. So identify, explain agency relationship. That looks like theory. Marks for communication skills. So they will tell you what is communication. So when you do the SBL, you learn communication means what. How to say it easy. Simply look at the audience. Okay, then professional skills available for evaluation skill. You can see now. If you go to communication here, you get 0 marks. So they want you to assess the role, say whether worth it or not worth it, good or not good. Okay, are we okay in this part? Can and they give you marks for this. If you display very good evaluation skill, they'll give you 2 marks. You just did a bit, they'll give you 1. Nothing, just little bit means 0.5 or nothing. Alright? Okay. Are we okay on this part? So you can see, again, here they're giving you a role. You're non-executive member. You are assistant auditor. Then they ask you demonstrate analysis skills on the spreadsheet. Then they ask you demonstrate skepticism skills, questioning the opinions of the chief executive. Got it? Then you are non-executive chairperson of ad hoc subcommittee. So what they do is they throw you different roles. So it's a role-playing exam. You play 5 different roles. This is where it's different. In the whole exam, you are an analyst. Are you clear now? Here, you suddenly go from auditor to committee member to director to CEO. So your roles are played around. So they just want you to play the role. Okay, are we clear that this is a role-playing exam already? So it's a slightly different question, but if you are good at acting and playing a role, you'll fit into this exam very easily. If you cannot play roles, your mind is locked on one role, then you probably won't pass this paper forever. I repeat, your mind must be able to flex roles. So you need that is where they're trying to catch. They want you to have a flexible mindset. If your mind is like, I'm only this, then you're gone. Sure, this paper will never be passable already, because your role keeps changing. Alright? Your role is internal auditor. Are we okay? And you can see the professional, and your role is the project manager. Are we okay now? So different roles, which is what they are planning to test you on. Okay, this is the new paper. Now I wouldn't, and then you can see the exhibit here, all the exhibit given. It's not a lot of pages. A lot of people say this is a lot of pages to read, and you're going to die reading it. No, you got 4 hours. Okay, and you're reading about one company, and you're just looking at the names, and pay attention to the right information. Okay, they've given you all of this. Then they give you like a newspaper. So you got picture all, So the point is, if you see here, got a lot of space here, picture here, all that, right? The pages are being taken up. They're trying to make it real life. Unfortunately, I don't think they will print it in color for you, Okay, it'll be too costly, the exam paper. All right. So here they have one article. Then here you can see the Excel spreadsheet. Literally, they show you in Excel format. It's not really badly formatted, right? Shouldn't have all this boxes like this, but they have done the formatting and they've given you all the points here. Okay, and you also got the rail board minute meetings here. Okay, and you also have the chief executive, the person's profile. This is the person specification. I mean, it's like a HR job. I give you the person specification, I give you 2 CV. Evaluate which one is a better candidate. That's why you must know the company well. You must know the person, what they want. You must also know the company's current problems. Then only you make a decision. So you have to tie all your information together. All right. And the last one, this is a horrible one. Your eyes will be paining already. You probably have to zoom. So you have to zoom to see. So you can see that they have kind of given you some kind of data here, town A, ticket barrier, population. So they want you to kind of look at these numbers and give some data about these numbers. Does that make sense? And they said this is the amount of preventable fraud, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, total fraud per month. Okay, so how do you handle the fraud? Are you clear? So how to solve the problem? Those are things that they are looking at. Okay, this, I repeat, was what we call the current paper for SBL, the new paper. We have 3 sample paper. Okay, so when we do the paper, we kind of using the sample papers, and then we kind of have to modify the old papers. Okay, we're still kind of using the old paper as a benchmark knowledge-wise. Okay, the old paper for P1 looked like this. This was the original P1 paper, which you all know already. It had a normal case study. That was 50 marks, straightforward. 4 marks professional marks here, and then you can see the 4 marks professional was clarity, logical for persuasive, no specific requirement. Okay, then you had this small question here, 25 marks, 25 marks, 25 marks. You had a choice. Some people don't like choice. You know why, right? When they come to choice, they don't know how to choose. They'll be like, this one also good, this one so good, this one so good, don't know which one to do now. Then sit there, think, 20 minutes burn already. Okay, so you need to be careful with the idea that, I think it's good they took away choice, because it removed one decision-making requirement for you. Can do this one, can do. So all papers, no more choice, because they found out that was a problem. Students didn't know how to make a choice. Each question too good, so they spent time wasting. So this was the P1 paper, and this was the P3 paper for the last sitting. Okay, and you can see straight out of 15. Now you know why I get 6 hours 30 minutes, right? Okay, 2 days of hell, and here you can see a bit of numbers here and all that, yes or no? Okay, and you got a question like this, comes out like this, same 50 marks, straightforward question, and this one about 25 marks, 25 marks, 25 marks. Now, one of the difference between P1, P3 and the new SBL paper is this paper used to require some kind of the framework, use the Porter's framework or explain the Porter's framework. So they might ask you theory in this paper, but if you go to SBL, they won't say that anymore. They won't tell you anything. They'll just tell you, evaluate the environment. You choose what is relevant, and they will never ask you to explain the theory. So they are not going to be theoretical. Okay, so the new paper, 0 theory for SBL. All right, which is good. That means you can still write with your common sense knowledge. Make sense? You do not need to depend on theory only. So if you didn't memorize an idea, you can still write with your common sense, and that's why people who do P5 can pass the paper. The moment they go common sense, they become professional. Clear? If they stay very theoretical, they scared you are a bookworm, not professional. So they want to pull away from the bookworm behavior. They want you to think like a professional. Okay. Are you clear in that part? Can. So that's one of the difference. Okay, are we clear on the difference? Can. So I think both papers are easier, generally easier, because they are trying to pull away from too much theory to less theory. Are you clear now? And more applied, more common sense way of doing it, more professionally solving the problem. Because you don't go to your director and explain to him theory. If you start talking theory, people turn off immediately. It's like, according to Porter, I don't want to hear anymore. So what they want you to do is, well, I think the suppliers have this problem. I think we need to look at, they want you to go straight to the point. Make sense? And that's what the new paper is. Go straight to the point. Don't beat around the bush with theory. Okay. Are we clear on the idea there? Same with the P2 also. They want you to move to the concept and the idea. They don't need you to state, oh, according to IFRS 13, they don't need you to state all of that. They just only like, okay, I think assets should be measured like this because of, get straight to the point. Make sense? So it's more relevant. It's supposed to be faster because last time you had to do 3 papers, now you do 2 papers. Can? Okay. But I don't recommend you do the 2 together unless you're full time. Make sense? Okay. Now, we're going to come to this one. The big problem you are facing. Choices, options, which paper to take. You are now thinking about which paper is, well, I think it's the same word, right? You're looking at which is easier, right? Yes, no? You're also looking at which is relevant, correct? I mean, you shouldn't simply do a paper just because it's easy, yeah? Like everybody tells you it's easy, and you go like, since everybody say it's easy, it must be easy. You know, it's very dangerous to trust everybody. You know, everybody said they wanted to vote Barisan, then finally they all vote Pakatan. You know, everybody said Sarawak will never change. Now you see what happened today? Sarawak jumped to outside of Barisan. You know, so don't trust everybody, trust yourself. Okay, you are supposed to make the judgment call. You cannot blame everybody when the judgment is wrong. You know, you went and did the paper, it's really hard. After that, you know, everybody say it was easy, you know, but I don't know why for me very hard. These are statements I hear all the time. Okay, so I think relevant is important, and you also need to know which is fast in terms of your knowledge, where you apply it. Okay, so let me just go through a bit of specialization. Okay, meaning maybe you have a goal in life. Maybe you want to do something in the future. You see yourself doing something specialized. You know, in medicine, you do MBBS first, correct? Normal degree in medicine, correct? After that, they go and work in the hospital, and then they say, oh, I like eye. Then they specialize in the eye, or oh, I like ear, nose and throat, ENT. So they will start to specialize after they work for a while, which is what you are supposed to do. You're supposed to work for a while in the audit field and the accounting field, and then you feel this one calling you more than other calling. Understand the idea of calling? You should know your calling. There will be some specialization that's calling you. You don't want to be a generalist for your life. Generalists can earn money, but you may pull to a specialization. It depends. You may specialize, or your pathway is CFO. You know, general accountant, then financial controller, and then CFO. There is a pathway. All right. So specialization. Let's talk about it. One of the specialization is treasury. Treasury specialization means you need one paper for sure. Advanced Financial Management. Okay. It's very important to get AFM inside that. Treasury. Now, on top of that, it is good to get tax. A treasury specialist will also have adequate tax knowledge, because they will know that if they move their money, they make payment, they'll have to pay withholding tax or not, how much tax, transfer pricing issues, all that they will be aware of it. So they need to have a reasonably strong tax knowledge and a reasonably strong finance knowledge. So your selection should be AFM and ATX, your line. All right. And you should select because like, I want this. Don't go just simply like everybody say it's easy, go and do it. Because it must be, you know why you're doing it. If you don't know why you're doing it, is half the motivation is not there. You're just doing it for doing it. Clear? So the next specialization you can have is the FP&A division, the Financial Planning and Analysis division. If you're going to go to the FP&A, this is a growing field in America. It's a big field in America, okay? In America, this is the main group of people is called Certified Management Accountants, CMA. They get the title CMA. All right. If you can get it, get it. It's a good add-on if you're going to work in the American corporates. they value the CMA very high. ACCA is okay. For American companies, CMA is higher. And only 2 papers. The 2 papers very close to guess what? P5, not P5, APM, Advanced Performance Management, Advanced Financial Management, AFM APM. Are we okay in this part? So that's the 2 paper they will take if you want to become a specialist in financial planning and analysis. Okay. The next one, of course, you're going to go to audit. I'm not saying you're going to become audit partner. That one is a very strong goal. Some people have the goal, but cannot. Some of them cannot last that long. But if you're staying in audit, you must understand one benefit. You can move around the world. Audit is one of the only field where people can get posted around the world like that. You can move around the world very fast. Because once your audit skill in the Big Four is already reliable, you can apply for posting around the world. They take you very fast because they know you're trained by the same method. So it is one of those global passport. Audit skill is a global passport. You should take P7, the Advanced Audit AAA, AAA. Okay. You want to top up, any paper goes. Okay, but a lot of people feel the finance module is the better one, because in finance you have to do valuation. Now the big problem in audit is valuation, how to value things. So the skill of valuation you learn in the finance module. Make sense? Okay. The next one, of course, tax specialist. You want to do tax? Well, take the advanced tax. After that, what's the other paper to take? Well, it depends which way you're going. Are you going for personal tax, then you do APM. If you're going for corporate tax, take AFM. Depends which direction you're going. Okay, no? If you're going for corporate tax, take the AFM module. If you're going for personal tax, take the APM module. APM has more the HR stuff. Because if you do personal tax specialization, you're moving closer to the HR world. Make sense? Insolvency. You all know about insolvency, right? Well, when you do insolvency, which is a very, very, very specialized field, okay, and there are only a few insolvency big firms around. But if you want to go specialize in insolvency, that means you become a liquidator, okay. Your AFM is a critical paper, Advanced Financial Management, because you need to know how to structure finances and all that. Okay. After that, you can choose any paper. You only need one core paper. Everything else becomes an optional paper. APM is a good. So you can see that these two, the financial planning analysis, insolvency, very close. It's just that your direction is different. You might want to go into investment banking, yes? You're going to investment banking, make sure you do AFM and AAA, Advanced Audit. Are we okay in this part? Those are the papers on specialization. So if you have some calling, you better address the calling. Okay. Now, in terms of sequence, if you do ACCA, SBL, ACCA, APM, very closely related. The theories, the approach are very close. In terms of APM, it's the least amount to study. Okay. If you do ACCA, SBR first, then you better do the AAA if you plan to do the AAA paper. That means after P2, you should do AAA paper. If your P2 knowledge or your SBR knowledge is too far behind, you'll be very rusty when it comes to AAA. Got it? And currently, the SBR paper and the AA very aligned. They have aligned the two papers together. That means the current alignment of the two papers was exactly the same. Previously, the old P2, P7 was not aligned. There was an alignment issue. Now they check the paper and they align it back. The SBR will make the mistake and you correct it. In the AAA, you just have to say they could have made this mistake. You just have to explain the mistake they made in SBR. Does that make sense? So this paper they will tell you the mistake. The other paper you speculate the mistake. They could have done that, they could have done that, they could have done that. Okay, are we clear on the difference now? SBR also can go to APM. got close linked. Okay. AFM should be done after SBR. Closely related. A lot of accounting entries to be done in that paper. Although it's finance, they will ask you to restructure a company and they ask you to redo the financial statement. They'll ask you to add, minus, interest, all that. So if your knowledge of your accounting is weak, then you cannot solve that problem already. You know where to add, minus, you have a problem already. Okay. Last paper, tax, your choice. Whether you want to do first or last, up to you. Okay. It's a stand-alone paper. It can stand alone. I've got a lot of students who do tax first before they do all the other papers. Can? Because it doesn't really have to depend on any other knowledge. But having a bit of the SBR knowledge help. Why? Because the tax is always see the same situation as accounting from the tax view. That means if you got investment property, accounting will treat investment property like this. Tax will treat investment property like this. If you got held for sale, accounting will treat it held for sale this way. The tax view of held for sale will be different. So you just need to learn the view of the tax. Like I said, not necessary to have SBR, you can do it standalone. Okay, your previous knowledge should be enough to help you. Okay. Any questions on sequencing? Can. So if you're doing your optional, which one you want to do first? You're planning optionals, right? Some of you planning optional. Which one you're planning? Good, do together. You must make sure you have time, because if you're doing in 3 months, it's kind of hectic. Okay, now your commitment is high. Okay, if you're doing it over 6 months, it's not so bad. 2 papers is reasonable. But if you're doing it over 3 months, it's kind of hectic. You really must be willing to commit a lot of time. Got it? So if you're thinking about doing 3 months course or 6 months course, first question, ask yourself. 3 months, I always suggest do 1-1-1. Ideal to do 1-1-1. Don't do 2-2-2 unless you're full time. If you're full time, you're working, don't add too much stress to your life. Your life already got enough stress. It's called work. You take 2 papers, it's like super stress, and then you got family, you got all the other issues coming in. By the time you look at it, you never finish your studies. Your studies is always the one that will suffer because of everything else. Got it? Yes, no? The most dispensable, never mind. Dispense. By the time you reach the end, will be not enough. So I suggest 1 paper for 3 months would be the ideal, unless you're planning a 6 months course. Can? Okay. So that's the approach. So I'm going to talk about the changes in the paper. Let's talk about the text paper first. Okay, text paper, we don't have a sample paper. Okay, I'll show you what came out. Now, from my view, okay, I'm just going to touch base a bit on this one. Area of focus, the advanced tax focuses on tax planning, not tax computation. So when you did your lower level paper, you might have liked tax because it was very easy to do the computation. You know, you just like prepare the format, throw everything in, you know, deductible, not deductible, just put that in nil, you know. It's very reasonably straightforward paper. Usually, I don't know, do you all suffer in your tax paper? Okay, right? It's supposed to be easy paper, right? Yes, no? No, yeah, but this paper is not the same. This paper is not the same. There is computation, but very minimum. The calculation can get you about maybe 25 marks. Don't expect so much. The calculation is not complex calculation. It's easy calculation. Okay? The only problem is the number of rules you have to remember. It's a law paper. Just remember, the tax paper is actually a law paper. Understand or understand? You have to remember like each rule what to do. This rule do like this. So area of focus is quite legalistic. In terms of paper, when you review the paper, you'll find out the Malaysian tax paper, the examiner writes the most easiest question to understand. Repeat that. The exam paper is the easiest to understand. In other words, you read, you understand. You won't get confused what she's asking. You only get confused, you know where? No? You don't know what she's asking. Okay, you won't get confused what she's asking, but you don't know what she's asking. You understand what I mean by that? Not? She'll ask you something you forgot to study. If you forgot to study, you don't know what she's asking anyway. There's zero way you'll get the marks. You write anything also 0 marks. Okay, that's called the law paper. If you didn't remember the rule, too bad. This is a yes/no paper. Yes you know, no you don't know. Okay, there is no in between. I repeat, there is no in between for a tax paper. From what I know, the marking is very strict. There was once, I had one of my students, he went for the exam and he wrote down, the examiner had asked for listed investment holding company. Tax treatment for listed investment holding company, calculation worth 12 marks. Okay. In the whole question, she wrote the word listed only one time. XYZ is a listed, XYZ Berhad is a listed investment holding company. After that, she just said XYZ Berhad, XYZ Berhad, XYZ Berhad. This student of mine missed the word listed the first time. And his mind somehow saw Sendram Berhad. So he wrote investment holding company, not listed investment holding. Two different rules. So all the calculation perfect. Of course, he calculated perfectly. Ask how many marks he can get. Ask the examiner straight. I was in front of the examiner. I told, you want me to ask anything with the examiner or not? So my student said, sir, ask how many marks I can get. So I was like, okay. My student did this. How many marks he can get? 0. Doesn't matter all the calculation correct. Once the principle is wrong, no marks. Now you understand the problem with the paper. You miss, gone. Okay. That's the but the paper question is very easy. Even the answers are not complex. In terms, I've been writing all the papers for ACCA, and the answer for P6 is the shortest among all the paper. Which is like, this one cannot get exemption, finish. 1 mark. The marks are very easy to get. If you know the rules, very easy to get. Okay, are we okay in this part? So there is a plus and minus of the paper. There is a risk. If you know, you'll pass. Don't know, too bad. But once you know, sure you can get the marks. Okay, are we okay in this paper? 10. Your memory is good. Your memory is good, and you can understand business situation. Most important part of the paper is you must understand business situation. What people do in the world. Like they will acquire, consolidate, sell this property, they move things around. They will do normal business transaction. They'll ask you to then talk about the tax. If you misunderstand the business transaction, burn. Okay, I repeat. So there are 2 things that kill you in the paper. Number 1, you never study the rule. Number 2, you misunderstand the business situation. Acquisition, you thought merger. You know, management buyout, you go and thought maybe liquidation. So your treatment all will run. Okay, are we okay in this part? Okay. Computations, I told you, very easy. Okay, not complex. Do you need prior knowledge? No, you'll cover everything in the class. Trust me, I know you forgot everything. Your brain should be 0 already by now, correct? Almost all your tax knowledge down to 0 already, right? Got lah something, residual knowledge. You know the tax rate, you know how to calculate tax, that's about it lah. Correct? So your residual knowledge, I think you can do without it. You having some knowledge is good, but if you don't have it, don't worry. You won't suffer because you start from 0 anyway. Every knowledge will start from 0. Okay. So even though you did some other UK tax and all that, you can still restart back and understand what's going on. Are we okay in this part? So that's the benefit. And the only changes for the paper is the GST. Moving to SST. So maybe we have a blank period. For a while there will be no more GST and SST questions. It happens sometimes. No worry, it happens sometimes. The examiner say like, there's no GST, there's no SST, we'll forget about everything for a while. So September exam, I don't think she will ask a GST question anymore. Out of syllabus, she'll say like, No point asking. I will confirm with her. I'm supposed to see her this 2 weeks time. I'm supposed to go for the meeting to discuss the current exam paper. So during that time, I will ask her what's the situation with GST. Are we still on or off? Okay. If she says off, one whole chapter burn, which means you actually save like 1.5 days of class. So you can spend more time researching other issues and going into deeper into other issues. All right. Depends on what's her judgment. Cannot say yet. Okay. So let me show you how the paper looks like. Okay. What's the difference? Okay. The difference in the paper. Let me just get rid of this one first. This is done. Yeah, this is the Malaysian paper. Okay, P6 Malaysia, ACCA. Don't worry, you don't need to memorize anything. All the rates are given to you. Don't think you're going in memorizing all of this. Okay, so everything is given. The rates are given. Resident company rates all given. Labuan entity is given. Trust body is given to you. Even all the personal deductions are all given to you. You just have to pick and use them. Okay, not? Okay. Rebates all given, capital allowance rates are all given, agricultural allowance added in. Then your RPGT rates, your GST rates, stamp duty. She hasn't moved on to the new 4% approach. Okay, she's still sticking with 3%. Reality is already moved to 4% already. Got it? So that's a table. Okay, this is the question. Okay, now pay attention to the question. You'll probably find that this is the shortest question around. Okay, this is the question. This is what has happened. Okay. She's explaining, you're the tax associate, AB's initial investment holding, share dealing and furniture company, past 5 years, expanded aggressively, various subsidiary involvement, health information. All groups make up, so it's a group scenario. Group tax, okay now. Okay? But don't worry, when you say group tax, you don't need to panic about it. Okay? See, divestment of shareholding, selling off. Cessation of furniture. So they're saying, okay, this group, this is what's the business scenario that's happening. Now you do the tax. This is what I mean by business scenario. Question 1 will always be a business scenario. Got it? So you need to know what they are doing. Then they will tell you all the assets acquired and sold. They've sold all the things. And the interesting thing, I suspected they're going to do a sale, control transfer type thing. It came out now sitting. Okay. Then they give you the P&L. Okay, the P&L is given. Your tax director send you some tax treatment of gain. You should present argument for and against taxability and your view of appropriate treatment. So quite straightforward, right? The gain, either is it an income or capital? Income fall under income tax or doesn't fall under income tax? Let's argue. Okay. Then, the income tax treatment of sale of furniture business, treat of the factory and land, the mobile plant, customer database. So how you treat each one. This one is an intangible asset, one is a PPE, one is a land PPE. Land, what's the impact of land, right? Land might have RPGT one. You all know that one, right? Okay. And then RPGT issues on the land, income tax for AB. You can see the calculations are here. And whether any returns generated. So these are the marks. And don't worry, the examiner has been very nice. Her requirement has always been, if she asks you to prepare a report, just prepare a report. You'll get the marks already. Okay. This paper, not so hard. Now, the difference is, question number 2 used to be 25 marks. Then you had 3 questions here. 20 marks, 20 marks, 20 marks. Got it? 3 questions. You had to choose 2. Now, no more. Question number 1 is 50 marks. Are you okay? Question number 2 and 3 is 25 mark, 25 mark. Done. No choice. Okay. Are you clear on the difference? Any questions? Now, before I move out of ATX, any questions you want to clarify? Anything you want to ask? My personal opinion, it's a nice paper to study. But you must have very strong willpower. Your memory must be strong. You should be okay then. Got it? Clear? Not clear? I prepared online test system, objective questions that kind of help the students. As long as they've done the objective questions, they know where they're weak, you can kind of pick up where you should focus, and you can then go into the exam a bit more safer. All right. Okay, so this is the tax paper. The next one we're looking at is called AFM. Area of focus, finance. It's a huge area of finance. Acquisition, mergers, valuation. These are the normal areas. The complexity for the paper is the calculation. Okay. AFM is the only calculation paper in the optional. I call it a calculation paper because most of the marks come from calculation. About 60% of the marks are generated from calculation, 40% from written. Clear? So if you like to calculate, this is the paper you must go for. Okay, but make sure you like to calculate. Because I had one student who came to AFM class, like after sitting the first class, a lot of calculation. No, I don't like calculation. I say, why you choose this paper? No, this is the wrong paper for you to sit in. And she's like, yeah, I don't want this. I'll go to APM. Okay, so prior knowledge, not so much, and everything will be covered from zero for the class. Okay, but having a finance knowledge is helpful. Okay, how does the paper look like? Okay, the paper looks like this. Now, one of the benefit of this paper, okay, this is one thing you need to be aware of. This is the advanced financial management. There's not much difference between the two papers. It just reduced. The question 1 is still 50 marks. Last time there were 3 25-mark questions. Now there is 2. Okay. One thing you need to be aware of. Okay, this is the question, and you get the same stuff here, 50 marks. Prepare a report, how real options are evaluated, prepare a report, estimate the value, calculate. All is estimate, discuss the reason, discuss the investment choice, critically discuss consequences of employment of soft capital rationing. Okay, now, moving on. Prepare valuation on forecast, discuss issues involved in using asset price. So there will be some theory, some calculation, got it? Estimate 11 marks, estimate this is 3 marks, so nearly about 14 marks already, got it? And over here, some hedging strategy. And you always get a hedging question, I repeat. One of the benefit of the paper is confirm you get a hedge question. But whether you can do the hedge properly or not is another dangerous thing. Huh? Okay. Another benefit of the paper is this. What's the benefit? Formula sheet given to you. You don't need to memorize. Now, if you had to memorize the formula, this is a killer paper. Seriously, if you have to memorize all the formula by heart and go in, you die. Since they have given you the formula sheet, all you have to know is learn the formula usage, because you don't need to memorize it. You're just like, this is when I use this. So you just need to know when to plug the formula and use the formula. Got it? So it's more of an extraction of data. If you know how to extract the data, you confirm you'll pass. Okay. Are we okay on this idea? So this paper, that's the benefit. You get all the NPV and all that down there, all right? So all the tables are done. You don't need to sit down and calculate one by one. All done. So the only thing you need to know is just apply. So it's an application computational paper. If you like number, go for this. Okay. In my opinion, among the 4 papers, this is the easiest in terms, if you like numbers, this is the easiest. But a lot of students who study last minute will die with this paper. You need practice. This paper, you need practice. You need to know how to use the formula and apply the formula 5 times, 10 times. Then you go to the exam, you'll be okay. If you just practice the formula 1, 2 times and go in, you won't pass. This can't be a last minute paper. It's a practicing question. It's a maths paper. You treat it like a maths paper. Okay. Are you clear that it's a maths paper? And how you study maths, not last minute, right? It's practice. Okay? Any questions there? And students who practice, I had one student, he practiced the whole paper, all the papers he went through 5 times. He got 96 marks. World number 1 lah. He got the number 1 prize for the world. And he's like, the paper is actually very easy. Just repeating the past year question, just change the number. That's his view of the paper. The paper is like, it's very easy. Just take the past year paper, just adjust a bit lah. So you learn that way. Once you learn and you know how to use the formula, you should be okay. Make sense? Okay. Any questions here? Anyone planning to do planning? You like numbers, lah? I feel like numbers. This is a beautiful paper. Okay. So we're done with this paper already. Now I'm coming to the next one. APM. Area of focus of APM, Advanced Performance Management. Obviously, all the performance rate issues, performance ratios, and all that. The paper itself is actually very little to study. Among all the papers in the professional level, this is the least to study. I repeat that. Knowledge top up from SBL, maybe 40%. Other papers, I would say 100%. Tax is 125%. Okay, the tax papers, like you have to study 125% knowledge, and you're examined on 10%. Okay, this paper, the knowledge is only like 30% or 40% top up from your previous paper. So it's not a very knowledge intensive paper, but it can be language intensive paper. The question requirement can be complicated. That's the complexity. But if you understand the question requirement, you'll pass. If you don't understand the question requirement, you're out. The paper has 5 technical articles to tell you how to read the question requirements. Okay, so I don't know. I call this a gamble paper. If you don't like to study, you got not much time to study, this is a suitable paper. Are you okay now? But you still have to practice. The practice is actually to understand the requirement. Knowledge is very little, I'll tell you. The knowledge is not very extensive for this paper. It's very straightforward knowledge. There is computation, still I think about 20%. So remember, all the papers is about 20. Tax is at 20%. APM is at 20%. AFM is the only one at 60%. Are we okay in this part? Prior knowledge, you need SBL. Okay. No changes. Nothing changing. The only changes is drop one choice paper. Okay. So I can show you how the paper looks like. So we're done with this paper. So we're looking at the APM. What has changed? Nothing much. The paper looks very straightforward. But there is some similarity with the SBL paper. You see, Appendix 1, Appendix 2. So what they'll give you is all this appendix. Clear? They can give you Appendix 2. See? This is what came out last sitting, right? The value chain. Okay? But they didn't draw anything for you. So they might give you something like that. So don't worry, they might give you all the model, all that. You don't need to stress yourself out sometimes. Alright? Okay? You just have to look at the numbers and interpret them. I repeat that, it's more of an interpretation paper. It's not a calculation paper. You may be required to calculate a little bit. Okay? Then question 2, explain the factors, advise the board, 10 marks. Evaluate value-based management approach, explain the board. Then you got an appendix here, calculation appendix. And this was the question that came out last sitting, using Ajanti A score, yes or not? This is the one some of you did last sitting, right? I thought I had told you to spot this one. Did you spot this or not? It's like bonus 12 marks. Okay, never mind. Somebody give you the model. Yes or not? See, they gave you the model, so kind of nice one. They examined like, okay, I know you forgot the model, here's the model. And you still forgot. Okay, so they have given you, even the value chain was given to you, right? Was it given to you? Like, use the value chain. Never mind, I know you forgot, I give you the value chain. So the examiner very kind, right? So the paper is kind paper. The problem is, you know where, right? Okay, read this one. Understand what he asked you to do now. Advice on appropriate performance measure. I think performance measure. And system for achievement when using value chain approach to simplify the supply chain. That's the one. He can put you to hypnosis. After you read, you like, what is he asking? You keep thinking and thinking and thinking, and then you get confused and write some nonsense. That's the problem of the paper. Nothing more. His requirement is the hardest to break through because he will load it. Okay, using data in appendix 1, recommend with appropriate calculation and justification. See, recommend with calculation 3 new performance measure as for children requested. So you just have to recommend 3 measures, yes? Okay, but you have to justify also, and then you have to also calculate. What to calculate? Don't know. That's the problem. Okay, discuss the development of big data. Don't know what is big data, right? Okay, and the potential impact on human information system, including risk and challenges it presents. If you didn't know anything, you write some nonsense, so you might be able to get marks. Okay, now if you know what was big data, all right? Okay. Now, point here, the paper, knowledge very little. If you understand the case, also is quite not so hard. The one that kills everybody is this part, this black part here. Are we okay? Can. Right. So I've told you where everybody is dying for each paper. Okay. Next part. So we're done with APM. So the next one we are looking at is the AAA paper. That's the last paper. Okay, now. Area of focus. The audit paper used to be a very nice table paper. I repeat until 2016. After 2016, I think they mixed the team. The old examiner was a nice examiner, stable questions. We could actually be kind of reliable on what's coming out. Used to be a bankable question, a bankable paper. Means we know what to expect, how to do and all that. The current exam team, remember, since 2015 or 16, they changed the way of examining. What ACCA did was they kind of found out that we could spot. Because if you have one examiner, it's one mind against, my mind against your mind. So I just have to do some Vulcan mind meld, this thing. I can connect with the person and figure out what's coming out. Okay? So we could roughly spot what's coming out. So to break this kind of pattern analysis, what they did is they brought in 3-4 people and put them as all examiners, and each one is taking turn to become examiner. So when they did this move, they introduced a variable in the AAA paper that's causing a lot of problem. The paper has become unstable, as I would say. Because why? All the exam questions not like past year papers. You walk in suddenly, you see the questions are all like, you go and ask anybody who sat for AAA paper. You know anyone? No? Anyone who sat for the advanced audit? What did they say? Don't know what came out. The word they'll say, don't know what was inside that paper. It's like some new stuff that they've never seen. It's completely new because they are elevating the paper to a different level. The new guy has a different way of testing. All right. I kind of figure out it, but it's still very hard because past samples not enough. All the old papers, not a reliable indicator of the new examiner. That's causing the problem. Because if you study past year paper and go in, you are expecting should be around there roughly, correct? It is valid for all the 3 paper, tax, finance, performance management, except for the advanced audit. It's kind of blur. Okay, so that's why the paper has become harder. I repeat, not undoable, don't worry. It's harder. Harder for people who don't work in audit. Much harder now. Last time, and some more, you work in audit also cannot just work in normal audit. Must work in the big firms. Now must work in the big firms already. You work in a small firm, no use. Harder still. Okay. Are we okay in that problem first? Aware? Okay, now. Computations for the paper. Got. Calculations very easy for this paper. You get about maybe 10 marks if you're lucky. 10 marks. Confirm get. The complexity of the paper used to be accounting standard. But I believe the accounting standard is now reducing. The paper accounting standard, so far as my past analysis for the last 3 sittings, It used to be very complex. Now it's reduced complexity. They are asking more narrower stuff, more easier to look at, but they increase another area, control. You need to know internal control systems. If your internal controls are good, then this paper is okay. If your internal controls are weak, you don't know about internal controls and how to do testing of controls and all that, this paper will become hard. Okay, are you okay and the complexity that's happening? Changes wise, not much changes. It's about the same. Only thing, the format has changed. So I'm going to show you how the new paper looks like. I'm going to get rid of this one. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that one, that one, that one. Okay, that was the AFM paper. That's the new paper. It's still the same. I repeat, not much change. This is the new tax paper. Don't worry, we only have one sample, the UK tax paper, which is a crazy paper. You're doing UK tax, you must be utterly mad. But seriously, look at the table here. Stamp duty, rate of interest, national contribution, capital gain, inheritance tax, patent box, Suicide, right? Remember doing it? You did UK tax, right? I also did UK tax, trust me, it's a horrible paper to do. You must be really mad to do the paper, which I was. Okay, now, this paper is, the style of the paper is the same, okay? Shouldn't change too much. And then you got the last paper, which is the audit paper, and this is how the new paper will look like. You will have a question like this. It's an email all the time. The boss will send you an email saying like, I need you to do something. Requirement, don't worry, you misunderstand. This paper, nobody gets lost with the requirement. The only paper people get lost with requirement was the APM paper. Okay? The three papers, the requirements are kind of straightforward. Tax, finance, and audit, requirements are straightforward. Knowledge-wise, tax and audit are the biggest knowledge. Okay, knowledge-wise. So, evaluate audit risk, explain method, straightforward. All these questions always repeat. That means you know what to do when you see it. The only thing is the area they will change. Once they change the area, if you don't know the area, you get into trouble. Okay? The requirements never change. Almost the same. They've given you an attachment here, they've given you an attachment too. There, see, notice you can get accounts. So, when you get accounts, you might have to calculate ratios. Remember I told you you can get 10 marks for calculation, right? That's over here. Okay, and you have this one. Question 2 is full 25 marks question, and question 3 is a full 25 mark question. That's it. Okay, before I close, any questions on the audit paper? Any questions? Who's planning to do the audit paper? You're planning. Are you in audit? No, you're full-timer. Audit firm lah. Do you do internal control testing or not? That's the problem. But don't worry, you still not as bad as a full-time student lah. Full-time student will be even more blur when they look at these things. Okay, if you want to do audit because you're on audit, it's a good thing to do. Anyway, the Big Four likes you to do P7. If you're planning to enter the Big Four and you're planning to enter the audit line, the first thing they look at, did you do advanced audit? It's like an indicator, like chalk sign, Okay. So this is a good skill set if you're planning to go to the Big Four. Confirm. The skill set, this paper is required for, if you do the UK version, it's like the license paper for ACCA. You take the UK advanced audit and the UK accounting paper, you already can become auditor in UK. All you need is 3-year experience in UK. Got it? But if you decide to go to UK and become an audit practitioner, you have to retake this paper. Take the UK version. So it's kind of an important paper. That's why they kind of pay emphasis on the paper. That they don't want you to simply pass. Are you okay in that part? They won't simply let you pass. They want to make sure you know your stuff before you pass. So if you know your stuff, you will pass. If you don't know your stuff, you'll get into trouble. The internal controls is right now at 20%. Still manageable. You can still figure it out from classroom. Okay, I think it's not so bad, but if you're doing this paper, it's an okay paper if you're doing audit. If you're not working in audit, it's a bit more tricky paper. Clearly, yeah. Not impossible paper, tricky. You need to role play a lot. You must visualize yourself in the audit firm. You must think like an auditor. That means you must take your body and go into an auditor's body. Are we okay? Then if you can do that, means you're okay. You cannot do that, means then you got a problem. Make sense? Okay. Any questions? All right. So we're done with this one. So I'm going to be closing already. Optional questions for all the P4, P5, P6, P7, and it's now standardized. That one's already burnt. Okay, there's no more optional questions. All standardized. You get question 1, 50 marks. Question 2, 3, 25 marks. That's your 100 marks. It's standardized like this already. Are you okay now? Okay? Right. Any questions that you have? You all have any questions on selecting a paper? Very clear on what has happened? Clear. So let me tell you again. If you're looking at optional papers, P4, P5, P6, P7, okay, depends what you want before you. I cannot advise you or anything. You tell me like, I want to be this, then I can advise you. I can't tell you, do this paper, because it depends on your needs and your skill set. Okay, a lot of people will be scared of P5, you know. But after you went for the exam, you're like, it's okay lah. Correct, you know. You're saying like, I got one student who called me up and said like, you know, I know I had all the resources. If I used everything, I'm sure I can pass. Problem is I had no time to use the resource. So then I said, yeah lah, if you use all the resources, sure you can pass one. You need time. He said like, you know, I had no time. I was working so hard, this, that. So a lot of people have work commitment. So you better know your ecology, you know, whether your work allows you to do a paper. Between all the papers, I think P5 is still the less stressful paper in terms of studying. You can study it quite fast, okay? But you need time for practicing questions, that's all. P7, good to do after your SBR, gives you an advantage, okay? But remember, if you are not in audit, you better be able to put yourself in an auditor's mind. Minimum. So when the auditor comes to your office, you better ask him a lot of questions. If you are working on the accounting side, lah. If you are working in the audit side, okay, lah, you should be at least halfway there already. I repeat, halfway there. Internal control, you can still figure it out, lah. Okay, now. If you are internal audit also, I think you can still figure it out. Internal audit is supposed to do a lot of internal control testing. You are internal auditor. No, accounting. You are also accounting. Audit also, lah. Not the big four, right? That's the small firm. You will learn the basic stuff, but you're not allowed to touch the big issues. Okay, that's the issue with that paper. Okay. Any more questions? But if you're doing audit, you better do AAA lah. Easier to pass, not guaranteed to pass. Okay, I repeat again. Easier to pass, not guaranteed to pass. Because at least you know the work. Everything will look like work only. It's just that, remember, in Malaysia, I've done audit quality review. I've checked few audit firms' work. It's way below. Okay, the standard of work is far below the actual standard. And you go and ask the audit director, why you do this? I have to always do this. That's the answer. Like, you don't mind taking the risk? Never mind, somebody else sign. The guy who signed, take the risk, understand not? That's their view. A lot of the audit firms is, they are Alibaba type, you know. That means somebody is signing, you know. So they don't mind passing the risk to somebody. So they can do a slipshod work and pass it through. That's why what you learn in the firm may not match up with what is required. Okay? So when you learn, you better know this is the best standard. What you're doing is not the standard. Can? Okay. Any more questions? No. Okay, I just finished about time. Okay, then I will close here. and hopefully you have a nice time deciding what papers you're going to do. Are you okay? Have you decided what papers you're doing? Not really. You're still thinking which paper to do. Well, the safest paper will be tax. Safest paper is still tax. You know why, right? Examiner not change.